Everything we do, if you really break it down to like kind of the core, to the minute essence, is like everything we're doing is we're trying to pursue some sort of feeling. Like no matter what it is you're doing with your life, like whether it's like it's work, love, exercise, entertainment, food, trying to build spaceships to Mars, it's like ultimately what we're after is a feeling. Let's be with this person because I want to feel love. Let's do this, let's make money so I feel secure, I feel fulfilled, I feel like I have a place in this world. It's like, let's do these things because ultimately there's a feeling that I want. You see those like dystopic sci-fi films, right? Where it's like humans are hooked up to some machine and like there's these nodes or whatever that goes into their brain and it just activates certain parts of their brain to give them certain sensations and then they feel good. Essentially, that's all we have if you think about it. We do all these things and in the end it just boils down to a certain experience, to a certain sensation, to a certain feeling, you know, whether that's happiness, bliss, excitement. It's all a feeling. This whole thing is just a simulation and all we're put here to do is to feel. Like all the people you see in your lives, all the circumstances that you get under, that you get thrown, all the kind of things that life puts in front of you, it's kind of like this play, this theater, this show, right? And you go into a movie theater, you watch a movie. What does the movie want to do? It wants to move you, it wants to make you feel something, right? And all the actors, all the sets, all the scenarios, all the script, all of these things, they all kind of come together to ultimately deliver a certain feeling. And I feel like it's the same thing with real life, which I think is actually really good because then it makes life really simple. It's like, as long as you understand your feelings, you're in tune with your feelings, and you act from that truth, then there's a very high chance you're gonna have a good time. Arizona! So my personal opinion, and perhaps is shared by other people, is that our feelings are what connects us to our truth and to the divine, ultimately. Our feeling side of the brain got developed first, and then our logical, rational side of the brain developed later. Our feelings are more primitive. But in a way, because it's primitive, it's more raw, it's more natural. And I think sometimes there is this narrative where people shut down the way we feel. That's like, oh, you know, don't be so emotional. That's like, let's just subjugate our feelings and give ourselves completely to our logic and rationale and just, you know, be collected and not succumb to our feelings. Feelings shouldn't just be something we subjugate so that we can just think better. You know, like we have feelings for a very specific purpose. It's, you know, it's what makes us human, if you want to put it that way. If we put thinking and feeling on a spectrum, it's like on one side, it might be really extreme if you're a feeler and it's like you're super emotional, you have no control, and you're just you're a hot mess, right? But on the other side of the spectrum, if you're super logical, super rational, and you're just like a cold robot, you're very calculated, and it's like you have no life in you, then that's probably not that great either. So ideally, you want to be somewhere in the middle where it's like you need the brain part of you to kind of discipline yourself, to guide you, to guide your impulses in a way, you know, your id and your super ego, right? In a way that's kind of more meaningful. But you don't want that to completely take over you, because then it's like, are you acting through, let's say, divine impulse that's more natural to you, that feels more in flow with you, and ultimately I feel that feels the best for you? Or do you have this preconceived idea that your ego has created that you feel like, I have to get that, otherwise blah blah blah, right? So it's like you don't want to be too impulsive, but you don't want to be too stubborn and stuck in your ways and egotistical in your thinking. No matter what it is you do in your life, I think it's really important that once in a while you check in with yourself to be like, okay, what I'm doing actually making me feel good? Because, you know, you could be trying really hard on this hamster wheel, trying to do this and that, and maybe you climb to the top, maybe you're top of the game, only to wake up the next day and think, hang on, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? I don't necessarily feel any better than what I felt like before I started. If anything, I feel more empty. If anything, perhaps I've lost a part of myself in this crazy process of climbing this game. But what you'll find, and what I tend to find at the very least, is that If you don't enjoy the process at all and you're just doing something completely for some external result, it tends to not work out the way you may think it will work out. Yes, you need a job to make money, to survive, but I believe that there is a job for everyone that they can do that they won't hate. If you're only doing a job to make money, but you absolutely hate it, I think you shouldn't do anything that you hate. Like, if we want to talk about frequencies and vibrations and things like that, anytime you do anything you hate, it's like, it's bringing you down. It's giving you resentment and anger and wrath, and you're just emitting that energy out everywhere you do. And I don't think that's good for anyone, not for your workplace, not for yourself, not for the people around you. And sometimes it just takes a bit of self-awareness, first and foremost, to realize, hey, this really doesn't feel good. This is bad for my health, etc., etc. And then it takes some introspection to kind of figure out what you want to do. And then you need the courage to actually go out and do it. There's this quote that I really like, and it's basically saying, like, whatever costs your peace is too expensive. And I agree. Like, look, in this life, all you have are feelings. And it's like, if you're gonna live through most of your life, maybe you live through like majority of your life, and it might be really hard, you might really hate it. Because you think, oh, I'll work through this period and then I'll enjoy it later, right? When I retire. But what if the retirement isn't as good as you thought? Or maybe you just die before the retirement even comes. Then it's like, well, would you say you've just wasted a life doing things you didn't really want to do? And I feel like that's a shame. Anything, I think, is a paradox. It's like, the moment you start doing things you actually want to do, the more likely you're going to move to a reality or a job where you actually enjoy doing it, then you'll be happy, and then you'll make more money, you'll have more success, right? Rather than forcing yourself to do something that's not true to you, that you don't like, in order to get a result sometime down the line that may never come and may never even satisfy you. So if you're ever feeling lost, I would really recommend to look into your feelings, like, I think journaling is a really good way to figure it out, or talking to a friend, or meditating, going for a walk in nature, like all of that, like kind of zen chill stuff, away from the crazy sensationalist shit. Like, don't distract yourself with like mindless hedonistic pursuits. Arizona! When you start running away from your problems, maybe the joy you get from the distractions is way more attractive than dealing with the pain of like the truth, right? And so it feels good. You run away, but then it gets to a certain point where it's like diminishing returns. It feels like whatever it is you're doing, like nothing feels good anymore. Like everything starts feeling numb, right? I think that's a very good word to describe it. It feels numb, and then it's like nothing ever feels good. And it's like, well, you're kind of like at the peak of distracting yourself. And now it's like, okay, you really gotta start, instead of running around everywhere, you gotta go inside yourself, figure out what the fuck is wrong, and then deal with that. And then it's like, that's when you actually start feeling the real, let's say, peace and presence in your life. Arizona! Don't let anyone tell you that your feelings aren't valid, or just to get over it. Like, no. Your feelings are probably the most real thing. It's probably the realest thing to you, to me, to anyone, your feelings. And if you ignore that because some external source tells you, oh, that's a silly way to feel, or da-da-da-da, like, you tell them to go fuck themselves. Because they don't know you. They don't know what you feel. And what you feel is always going to be the truth. Because you can't deny what you feel. It's like you can't fabricate your feelings. You can fabricate your thoughts. You can lie to yourself, right? You can say things to yourself. But if you really have the courage to get down to what you truly feel and admit that, that's your truth. And if you're willing to deal with that truth, those feelings, you're going to come out of the other side a lot better, a lot stronger, a lot more powerful. But don't go too overboard with your feelings either. Remember, it's a spectrum. Feeling and thinking. You want to balance it in the middle. I think, at least for me, that if I act genuinely first from a place of feeling, like an impulse, a divine inspiration, once you're settled in, without all the sensationalist bullshit, without all the running away, you're at peace, you're present, you're calm, you're in a state of grace and gratitude, all that good shit, right? You're probably gonna feel something, right? Get an impulse to do something, and then it's like you can start using your mind to be like, okay, I want to do this thing. This feels like, oh my god, this is such a good idea. How can I actually do it? Da-da-da-da-da, right? That's perfect. I think that's a really good way. And anytime you feel like you're forcing things, or you're trying to persuade so hard other people something, it's usually something that is not true. Not to say you shouldn't work hard. You should work hard. but don't work hard towards the wrong things. Divine feeling with divine planning and logic combined together makes a divine being, such as yourself.